Oh, you're so cute.
Good morning everybody and welcome to part 2 of my pregnancy and fertility series. Here we have Ruth, one of my friends from work, and she's going to tell us all about her story and with pregnancy and her fertility issues. Ruth has a really complex story regarding her pregnancy and fertility, but we'll start with her first pregnancy with Caleb.
So, first pregnancy, I didn't know I was pregnant and I had been on contraception, so the fact I didn't get periods wasn't really a big issue. And by the time I did find out I was pregnant, I was quite far along. I'd lost a lot of weight, which was another reason why I didn't think I was pregnant, because I wasn't putting weight on. But that was due to the sickness and not being able to eat right, and baby, there was never anything wrong with the baby. I am Ruths being negative blood. Caleb was a positive blood, so again, some people believe that there's a reaction, some people don't. I personally think there is. It was a normal pregnancy, but it was rough at the same time.
So I think it's important to mention there that when you have opposite blood type from your baby, there can be a lot of complications.
Your obviously genetic makeup and antibodies are of a negative type. So this is very, very simple, by the way. And then someone else's DNA comes along and it's a positive, and then obviously they mix together, so your body recognizes that that is something that belongs to you, but at the same time it's getting these signals that there's something that doesn't belong to you at the same time. It doesn't normally affect first pregnancies, but second pregnancies, if you don't get your anti-D injection, can have major repercussions. So you can get something called blue baby, where they've actually got your baby's literally born blue and you've got to do a full blood transfusion.
Also when you have this condition, or when you have that blood group type and you do get pregnant, in subsequent pregnancies it can cause miscarriage. And also when you are pregnant, sometimes your baby will need to have their hemoglobin tested to make sure they're not anemic, because you sometimes can need to have blood transfusions while the baby's still in utero. When did you decide to start trying to have another baby?
So I was having all these problems with contraception. I have a massive hormone balance. I have too much testosterone, which then can also give a load of signs and symptoms of polycystic ovaries. I had been diagnosed with it, even though I never had it. So I kind of was like, because I knew what polycystic ovary was, I kind of thought, oh well, it's probably just a fluke that I had Caleb and that I'll never get pregnant again. We're about a year into our relationship, and I'd explained to him that I thought I had polycystic ovaries and that if we did want to have children, it might take us a long time. You know, should we just try and see what happened? And I literally fell pregnant that month.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
So, and I was like, oh, sick instantly. Like I say, all signs and symptoms of me being pregnant very early on. But I knew very early on that there wasn't something right. I don't know what it was. Mother's intuition sort of thing. I always felt right from early conception I had this pressure really low down in my cervix. So it was, I knew there was something wrong, and I felt like I would go to the doctors and I would say to them, you know, I don't feel right, I feel uncomfortable. They would brush it off, they'd test my urine, the urine's fine, but it made me really unsettled. And I found myself searching for answers a lot. So couldn't take vitamins, so couldn't really eat, was working 70 hours a fortnight. So in all fairness, I wasn't taking very good care of myself. When I got to 12 weeks, and I went to bed that night, and I rolled over in bed and I felt like a leak of liquid. And I jumped up and went to the bathroom, and there was some like clear liquid, but there was some bleeding as well. There was no pain, there was no clots in the blood, so I was 12 weeks, so I was kind of not too concerned about it. The only thing that's relevant to that is that I did have sex that night.
Yeah.
Went to the emergency room at work, did an ultrasound, everything was fine, there was heartbeat, the bleeding had stopped by then, so it was just kind of like, off you go. Didn't have any more bleeding. Went for my ultrasound on 3 days later or something. And this is something that I can't express enough to people. People should really look into where they get their ultrasounds done. And I understand that it can be quite a pricey situation, especially if you have to have lots and lots of ultrasounds. But not everybody out there, not all ultrasound people that perform ultrasounds or doctors get the scan looked at by doctors or things like that, and things can be missed that are relevant down the line. Everything had come back fine, and I did tell the woman that I'd had a bleed, and she was like, yeah, it's really common, you know, don't even worry about it, baby's there, you're past 12 weeks now, there's nothing to worry about. I did again state, but I didn't have any bleeds in my previous pregnancy. She said it wasn't a problem. You know, I was just looking for basically something to worry about. And I thought, you know what, maybe I am, because I want this pregnancy so much. Maybe I am. Maybe it's just all in my head and I need to relax and I need to start enjoying it and, you know, enjoying Dave and stop ruining this situation for him, because that's what I felt. I felt like because I was constantly looking for something wrong, I felt like I was ruining this for him. Yeah. This was his first experience with a pregnancy, first experience with a child of his own, and I was ruining it for him. That again, the pressure of that, I think, made me not question as much as I should have questioned.
But people think you're paranoid.
Yeah,
they
basically, And they tell you you've got health anxiety, and you're like, yeah, probably because something's not right.
Yeah, but you just can't explain it. You've just got that feeling inside you that you know something's not right and you want it investigated, and people just don't take you seriously.
No, they just think you're looking. It's as if you know, you've got some form of Munchausen's. Like you know, oh, well, you want to be ill. You want something to be wrong. And it's like, no, I want to understand why I'm feeling like this, and not think I'm insane. Basically, we were just going through the public system. I don't feel like I had really maybe anyone medically to talk about, so I did a lot of looking myself, which is, you know, again, that anxiety was making me quite worried. Always had this pressure, like if we had sex, really painful afterwards, like super sensitive cervix. Before we went for our 20-week scan, me and Dave did discuss, being nurses, that if anything was wrong on the scan, if anything was wrong with the baby, if there was anything wrong with me inside or anything like that, we'd had that discussion, made our choices, what was best for our family. And these choices you cannot make until they happen. Do you know what I mean? And my choices are not right for anyone else bar me and my family. So we went for a 20-week scan, and they said everything was fine. They revealed we were having a little girl. I explained to her that I had been getting this pressure, and she basically just brushed it off and said, well, you are going to get pressure because you're pregnant. Yeah, but I'm not that far on pregnant. This pressure feels like the pressure I felt when I was 38 weeks pregnant with Kayla, and I'd explained to her that I was getting pain, and she just said, no, everything's fine, baby's fine. Okay, maybe it's me again, you know, just... it's fine, we're at 20 weeks now, I should really relax, you know. Nothing's going to happen now. You're at 20 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, bring it. Pressure just consistently got worse and worse and worse. On the Monday, I turned 23 weeks. Felt really unwell at work, and I was back and forth to the toilet, feeling like I needed to go to the toilet all the time, pass urine. And I thought, I have to have a urine infection. Something's not right. So I went to the GP, gave them my urine sample. He started me on Keflex, which is a safe antibiotic in pregnancy, and had said, you know, just take it easy and see how you go. I got some bleeding. It was bright red, blank blood. It was like, not a lot, but it was bright red blood. And I thought, oh, what's happened now? Has the bladder irritation made me bleed. My sister was pregnant. She got something called cervix erosion. She actually bled throughout her whole pregnancy. Maybe it's in the family, maybe I've got something like that. Didn't worry too much about it. So I went to the hospital and I seen who was just a registrar on at the time. And they said, your cervix is closed. We can see that you've had a bleed. We don't know where it's coming from. You've already started on antibiotics. You probably do have a bladder infection. On you go.
Did they offer you an ultrasound?
No.
Okay.
The next day I got up and it wasn't bleeding anymore, it was pink mucus. I now know that this was my mucus plug. Then I went back to the hospital. They looked at my urine test and said, you don't have a urine infection. I'm passing this pink mucus, like it's just coming out of me, it's not stopping at all. And they were like, well, are you bleeding? And I said, well, no, I'm not bleeding. So they did another internal and they said, your cervix is closed, you're fine, go away.
Did they offer you an ultrasound?
No. Started to get really, really weak and tired. I was just exhausted. This mucus was just still coming and the pain was still there. I couldn't eat and I was just so weak. And I started feeling like I was having palpitations. So I went back into hospital and I explained all this again. They did another internal and they said, your cervix is still closed. This was now Thursday. So I'd been passing this mucus for 4 days now. Had this pain for 4 days now. Felt so weak and it was just, I knew I was getting progressively worse and worse and worse. And I explained that to them and they said it was just worry because of what I was going through and I didn't know what was happening to us and all this. Friday morning they released me. She called in to see my mum and dad at their work and my mum burst into tears because of the way I looked and she said, you look like you're dying. I don't understand. How have they let you out of hospital? It was doing about 5 o'clock that evening and I got the sharpest pain in my chest. I felt like someone had just stabbed me. The mucus just kept coming and then all night I was getting lower back pain and I was up and down and I'm thinking this just can't be right. There has to be something wrong. Like I literally feel like I'm dying. Like I just begged Dave, I said, you have to take me to hospital, there's something wrong. They looked at me and they were like, you need to come straight through. And they put me on a bed and they tilted the bed straight away. They did my blood pressure and everything and my blood pressure was, I think it was something like 82 on 45 or something like that.
Which is super.
Yeah. And my heart rate was 126.
Which is very high.
They did an ultrasound and they said, it doesn't look like you're in labour. That was their words. But we'll do an internal just to double check. And when they did an internal, I was actually 3 centimetres and membranes were showing. Once you're in labour, there's no stopping labour. Once you're actually dilated, there's no, you can't reverse the dilation. Whatever was going to happen was happening. They told me I needed to go to the Mater hospital because they don't have the facilities at the Gold Coast at the time to deal with that. If we can get you to the Mater without giving birth, you've got a chance. That's what they said. We have to give you lots of medications to try and help the baby. So steroids to inflate the baby's lungs, magnesium to stop strokes and seizures. Now every time they administered the medication into me, like my heart rate would go really, really high, I would feel really faint and dizzy and my blood pressure would disappear, I was vomiting, I was in intense pain and I was getting these burning sensations coming up from my arm across my chest. I had to keep stopping and starting them giving me medication. Why is it reacting like that? And they just kept saying, we don't know. We don't know why you're reacting like that, but we've had to stop this infusion. They give me a shot of morphine and they said I needed to stay as calm and relaxed throughout the whole journey. He said to Dave, who was just like a startled little rabbit in the headlights, he was to follow the ambulance. He wasn't to break any laws, but he was to get there ASAP.
Right. They're telling you to stay calm, but they're panicking you at the same time.
So we got to the Mater and we were instantly took into this delivery room with this special room attached to it. This is what's happening. You've gone into early labour. you're only 23 weeks and 6 days. It's not stopping. It's slow it down enough to get as much of these medications into you to give your baby the best chance possible. Time they put these medications into me, the only way I can describe it is like I crash, all my orbs go out, I feel faint, I feel this burning sensation, and this just keeps happening. So they have to keep slowing the infusions down, but then the minute they slow the infusions down, the labour speeds up. Yeah. So it's like a no-win battle, and they don't know what's going on. Yeah. So then they started ordering loads of blood tests, and that's when they realised that my HB was actually 70.
That explains why your heart rate was so high.
I probably needed a blood transfusion.
The Gold Coast take bloods at all. No. This is a really big thing in emergent situations. Is the first thing that you would do is order blood tests just to get a background picture of what is happening systemically. Yeah. So it's really interesting that the Gold Coast didn't even think twice about ordering bloods.
And they'd cannulated me.
Oh, and they didn't take bloods at the same time. That's really strange.
Is something
you just wouldn't do.
You just wouldn't do.
Yeah, you would automatically put a cannula in, and you would take bloods at the same time because you have to draw blood back anyway. Yeah. So you might as well just send it off.
Yeah, no, they didn't do that. When you're faced with an extreme premature birth, they send in these people who come in your great state of mind that you're in to give you the statistics of what is going to happen to your child, what kind of fight they're going to have in front of them, what kind of disabilities they're going to have. Now, minimal disabilities to them is blind and deafness.
So have very
severe disabilities is things like, being complete cerebral palsy, like vegetative state, fed through a drip, not breathing on their own, and death. But I always remember the conversation. It just blew my mind. I was like,
how did you get from not being in labour at the beginning of the week to having to discuss options of your unborn child?
Yeah, and I just was kind of like, I don't know what's happening. 10% of babies born this early on can have no disabilities. So they're normal. They grow up to be perfectly normal. And I remember saying to her, so how many babies have been born this year at this birth rate with no disabilities? And she said none. And I said, well, that's not 10%. Yeah. And I said, we're in July.
Yeah, that's halfway through the year.
Like
you haven't had one success story.
Yeah, so that isn't a 10% basically. So what you're telling me is that there is no chance at all that this baby is going to be born and have no disabilities whatsoever, no fight, no struggle, it's going to be a lifelong battle throughout. And looked at me and she didn't know what to say. And the midwife at the time, she said, that's absolutely correct. Yeah. She said that's basically what she's saying to you. Our obstetrician, she came in and she said to me, okay, she said, this is the situation. She said, you're 23 weeks and 6 days pregnant. She said, if you choose to have this baby, we have to do what we call a classic cesarean section. Mm-hmm. Now, a classic cesarean section is actually a cut at the top of your uterus, not at the bottom of your uterus. Okay. It comes with a 30% chance of infertility because of the scar tissue it creates. That's if I can get a couple of units of blood in you to get you to theatre. She said, so if I can get you to theatre, she says, and we can get you through this procedure, and you'll then have 30% chance of your fertility being inflicted. You'll probably have at least a 70% chance of survival. Yeah. That's when it dawned on me, Dave, I could actually die here. Yeah. We are medical professionals. Yeah. And at not one point did I ever think, so I'm dying. Dave just said no. Yeah. He just said absolutely not. He said, not only are we going to risk her life to deliver a baby that is going to probably may not even survive because we've got no medications inside of her, minimal disabilities as blindness and deafness. Yeah. The mother could go through all this, the baby could die, the mother could die, and I've got a child at home who I have to explain, oh well, this is what happens. And then the rational side of me kicked in. 3 weeks ago, we had a discussion and we made the choice that if this baby had any major disabilities, we wouldn't carry on with our pregnancy.
Yeah.
That was the choice we made for us. We are now in that position. Why are we even considering putting this child through this?
Yeah.
You know, until I sat with Dave without all these people around me and looked him in the eyes and said to him, are you sure this is what you want to do? I couldn't make that decision. Yes. I could look Dave in the eye and say to him, what do you want? And he just sobbed and he said to me, absolutely not. I am not risking your life. I don't care if there was only a 1% chance of something happening to you. No, that is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
No way. We're not doing it. And I said, right, okay. I said, then we won't. Basically, the decision we were making was to not have the baby resuscitated. So the next step was that we told them we didn't want to resuscitate. So then we were allowed to have a natural labour and we would be able to see her and hold her. And then she would obviously pass away because she was extremely tiny. By this time, my mum and my sister had come up. Dave's mum had come up, and obviously you're dealing with all of that as well, explaining to people this is what's going to happen, and the realization that you're not coming home with a baby. Yeah. That's the realization. Yeah. That's the hard truth of what's happening to you.
So it would have been hard for you in that situation because you've got to deal with your grief, but then all your family is grieving as well, and so you're trying to navigate your own feelings as well as your husband's feelings and your parents and
it was just
family.
Guilt.
Yeah.
The only feeling I remember feeling more than anything was guilt.
Yeah.
I've put this poor man who I meant to love with all my heart.
Yeah.
This is his first experience with having a baby. Not only has it been a terrible pregnancy, not only are we now having, a premature labour, but the baby's going to die as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's not even going to have a child at the end of it. Like, that was me. That's all I felt. Like, look what I've done. At about 5 o'clock, my waters, by this time they'd given me an epidural. Okay. I just want to be numb. I don't really want to feel anything. And so I told the midwife, I said, oh, it's time. They put a screen up, like, is it...
You having a cesarean?
Yes, that kind of thing. And I remember keep saying to Dave, don't watch. Yeah. And he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, no, just look at me. I didn't want that to be his first experience of watching someone give birth. Yeah. I was just so... And I was kind of going through my brain, I was like, what you can't see, what you don't know, you can't grieve for.
Yeah.
It was like, don't look at it, don't even acknowledge it. I'll just have it and they'll take it away and it'll be done. And then we'll just go about our normal lives.
Do you feel like you were more worried about preserving his feelings in that situation?
I was really numb and cold and like calculated almost. I mean, I wasn't looking at it as my daughter. I wasn't even looking at it as a baby. Yeah. I was looking at it as like a product. So she was born and Dave went with her. So they said to me, did I want to see her? And I said, no. I said, no, I don't want to see her. And Dave went with her and they took her into another room. And like I say, she was born alive. She died very, very quickly, but she was born alive. And Dave went with her and Dave held her and she passed with Dave. Dave came through to me and said, I think you need to see her. I think you will regret for the rest of your life if you don't see her. You have to face this. You have to this is your mental health is not you're not going to have any. You have to face it.
It goes back to your out of sight, out of mind thing. If you don't see her, you don't have to deal with the grief.
And in case they brought her through and she was just tiny. She was like just a tiny little doll. I was so surprised of how how formed she was. I thought, oh, she's gonna look strange looking. And just tiny. And her little fingers were fused together. So her eyes were fused shut and
her ears probably wouldn't.
not properly. Yeah. But I was glad I did get that memory of her, because they give you mementos of your baby, and they give you photographs, which I didn't ask for, but they give me. And the photographs are not. I'm so glad I seen it, because the photographs don't
depict what she actually looked like.
Like, I don't want that memory of her. I'm glad I've got the memory I've got, and I'm glad Dave was strong enough for the both of us to say, you need to face this. You need to visually look. Once she was gone, I couldn't pass the placenta, so they had to rush me at the theatre.
Yeah. You've just gone through one traumatic situation and now you're going.
They take my placenta out. The obstetrician had already asked if they could send it off for testing, because it was in a complete, lump sort of thing. So we said yes. We'd already also agreed to full autopsy of the baby to figure out if something, had gone wrong chromosome-wise that hadn't been picked up on or anything like that. And then we were taken to a room, and my mum and my sister were there, and we were just, they were like, how are you? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, and, can't really feel my legs, and everything's fine and stuff. And they said, oh, well, we're going to go. And I was like, all right, okay then. I was like, I'll speak to you tomorrow. And then they went, and then Dave just kind of looked at me, and he was like, are you okay? And that was it. That was the beginning of a week of just crying. I mean, it was just this hollow, painful kind of pain that sadness that you just really can't describe. Just empty. That's what you feel like, you're empty. The next day, more or less said I wasn't staying in the hospital. They wanted me to stay, and I just said to them, I can't stay. I can't stay in a hospital and grieve. I said, and we can't grieve. We can't process what's happening. We can't do any of that, because we're stuck in this bubble of what's just happened. And I said, I need to go home. I was like, I need to do this myself. I need to get out of here. Basically got told we could go. And that's when I was like, so what happens with the baby?
Yeah.
Like, does she just stay here? And they said, well, yes, because the autopsy is going to be carried out, and then we'll arrange the funeral company. They'll come and get her, and they'll take her. And then once she's at the funeral company, then they will telephone you, and then they will have her cremated, and then you will go and pick up ashes. Such a surreal.
Did they give you an option of planning a funeral or anything?
No. Don't ever remember there being a discussion, and don't get me wrong, I probably wasn't in the greatest sound mind, so I do apologise if I've factually got that wrong, but I honestly don't remember ever having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I'm leaving her, and I know she's dead.
Yeah.
But she doesn't belong to them.
Yeah. And
I know she has to have these tests done, but that's fine, but she still doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
She's mine.
Yeah.
And if I'm leaving,
she should be
coming with me. Regardless of that baby's dead or alive.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah.
It belongs to you, sort of thing. I still have Isla's ashes now.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave her again.
Yeah.
So I think I'll keep her for my whole entire life, and then be buried with her.
Yeah.
But then you have to inform people.
Yeah. That would have been a
and
really
then
hard thing
people
to do.
want to apologize, and people want to grieve for you, and they want to, and I just couldn't deal with that. I stayed up with my mum's for 6 weeks. I couldn't go back to my house. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. I would get messages and texts. I didn't go on Facebook.
Yeah.
No social media. I didn't want to know anything. We moved house because I couldn't go back to being in the place where we lived.
Yeah.
It was just the fact I was pregnant there, and it was just the fact that we found out we were pregnant there. I was really lucky. My mum and my sister had packed up what baby stuff we had been buying, removed everything from the house. So I never got to see that. Some people need that process to go through their baby's belongings and all that. But for me, I couldn't deal with it at the time. I think once we got the autopsy report back, there was nothing wrong with her. There was nothing wrong chromosomal. There was nothing wrong with the placenta. There was no answers, basically. That's what they told us, that this was just something that had happened and they don't know why it had happened and they don't know what to do to prevent it from happening again. So it's like, it's a good thing in one way because you're so happy that there's nothing wrong with you and that there is a chance that you could have a normal pregnancy and be successful and all this. But at the same time, you've got no answers. You don't know what you're looking out for. You don't know what to do to prevent it. You don't know what you did wrong. You don't know. So there's just so many unanswered questions. I think it was around about 6 months after Isla that I think we even discussed maybe doing it again. Let's just try and see what happens. And we fell pregnant again straight away. Started all the nausea medication, started all the reflux medication. Like I say, had an ultrasound at 8 weeks, confirmed pregnancy, seen it, heard the heartbeat, all the rest of it. When I got to about 10 weeks, I didn't feel sick anymore. I knew, and I said to Dave, I said, "Oh, I'm not pregnant anymore." And he said, "Don't say that." He said, "Don't say that." But for me, the nausea and vomiting is a massive thing because it's so, from the day I fall pregnant to the day I'm in labour, I'm throwing up. Okay. I know I'm not pregnant. I want you to prepare for this. We ended up not actually going until it was like our 12-week scan. So you go for your 12-week scan and it's kind of like, you know, woohoo, we're here for our 12-week scan, but I knew what was coming up. So we went into the ultrasound. Dave was like, hold my hand, and I just kept thinking in my head, I can't believe I'm doing this to him again. So angry at myself, and I was just so angry. I just thought, I just can't believe I'm doing this. So I had my ultrasound and they said, "I'm really sorry, but the pregnancy stopped." They called it a miscarriage. So a miscarriage is when the baby obviously stops growing, the placenta detaches from the wall and everything, but it just kind of sits in your uterus, doesn't pass or anything like that. Was there any emotion? No. Okay. I feel sad about it now. Because of everything I went through with Isla, I thought, well, how can you compare? You know what I mean? I'd rather have it happen now than in 20 weeks time again and have to go through the whole thing when it is a little person and you have to make all these decisions and this and that and the other. And I wanted to get pregnant again, but Dave had said, there's obviously something wrong. And I got in touch with Drew Moffrey. So we went and seen Drew. He said, there is no answers. There's nothing we can do about that. He says, all we can do now is rule things out and try different things. And if they work, great. But if they don't work, then we try something else. He said, unfortunately, I wish we could say it is this one thing. He said, but it's not. He says it's an arrayment of different things. We had a load of tests done. So the first thing that we tested for was this whole polycystic ovaries thing, which was non-existent. But what they did find out was that I carry a lot of testosterone. Now, sometimes when you carry a lot of testosterone, it then hypersensitizes your other female hormones. Testosterone was really high, but my progesterone was really low and my estrogen was really normal. We talked about progesterone, and what we had said was that if I fell pregnant, we would consider the progesterone. While we're still in these discussions, somewhere along the line I fell pregnant again. HCG was up, but it wasn't as up as what it had been on all the other times. I didn't feel as nauseous as I normally did. Again, another big sign for me, not for other people, but for me. So we went for an ultrasound. This is another thing, private obstetricians make sure that you go to a sonographer that is a doctor. They look at different things. They read your history. They get a story from them. But not only do they read the history when they're scanning you, they go through your history so they can recognize things. And we went and had a very early internal ultrasound, and they basically had said to us, he said it wasn't a good sac. Basically, I don't know how to explain that any other way. And I also had a small hematoma above where the baby had implanted on the side of my womb. If the body doesn't absorb it back in, the hematoma can grow and it can actually pull the the baby away, sort of thing.
So a hematoma is a collection of blood.
Yeah. As it happens, he'd ordered 3 blood tests as well. Decline in HCG is a sign that the pregnancy isn't continuing. So we did one more, and it was lower again. So then we went for another ultrasound, and that's when he had said, "Oh, it hasn't progressed. The hematoma has actually pulled it off," which we had been given a heads up. We had said because it was very early on, we could take the medications. But he really wanted samples of all product that we pass. It's not everybody, if you can't do it, don't feel like I'm saying, well, you have to do these things to get answers, because you don't. You don't have to do these things.
And I think it's hard too, because sometimes a lot of people pass the contents of the uterus in the toilet as well. So it's pretty hard to get it out of the toilet.
And it is so hard to do, even for me, it's so hard to determine what is tissue and what is a clot. Because there's so much retained product in there. It's it's so hard. So we managed to get a sample of tissue. We sent that off. Everything came back normal again. We basically came to the conclusion of that when I get pregnant, because I don't produce enough progesterone, my cervix can't mature. I don't have a very long cervix to start with. It seems to be because I don't have that maturing of the progesterone. Any trauma inflicted to the cervix, so that's just penetration, just sex. That can be because you just haven't got that projection there, and you've got this internal pressure coming down. One knock can kind of
disrupt everything.
Yes, it's definitely this answer, but he said he just thinks that's what it could be. I felt maybe at peace that I'd getting some sort of answers. Terrified that I didn't want to do this again, and numb to the fact it wasn't going to work. Do you know what I mean? Just kind of got to the point where I was like, so now 2015, 2 years. 2 years goes so fast when you're
trying to get pregnant.
When you're trying to get pregnant, it just disappears. You're like, oh my god, I've been doing this for 2 years.
Where did that time all go?
And then lo and behold, we fell pregnant again, and had to start the progesterone straight away. Which is a tiny little bullet-shaped pessary, which every night you pop into your vagina, and it dissolves into this oil-based liquid, which leaks everywhere and stains all your clothes, and feel like you're super lubed up for the whole. You don't even want to sit on a stool, just on the off chance you come sliding off it or swallow it. It's just the worst. And it smells
gross.
Ridiculous. It's just you can't even describe the smell. You're just like, what is that smell? I don't even know what it is. I had to use mine once daily, 200 milligrams. Well, at this point, for 36 weeks, be prepared. You go, I'll do anything. I'll do anything to have a baby. I'll go through whatever. I'll put my body through whatever. I'll put my relationship through whatever and whatever else. It's not until this stuff starts happening to you that you go, I was lucky I never got any spotting, but irritation, like burn, irritation everywhere. We were also told that we couldn't have any sex at all
pregnancy.
For our whole entire pregnancy. It's full on, but we just kind of went with it. Like you've covered, the anxiety around this situation is horrendous. Just horrendous. I didn't look at an ultrasound picture of my daughter until I was 32 weeks. I couldn't acknowledge it. Couldn't look at a screen. And every time I went to my obstetrician, I would get an ultrasound and I couldn't look at the screen.
Yeah.
I don't think I acknowledged 12 weeks, didn't acknowledge it. Hit 12 weeks, went for an ultrasound and was like, oh, it's there.
Yeah.
All right, I have to deal with this now. Kind of dealt with the fact I was pregnant, but didn't get any attachment at all.
I think you sort of kept it on the low because even at work, we were just in conversation. She's like, oh, I got maternity leave next week. I'm like, what? You're pregnant?
Yeah, pretty much. Dropped my hours instantaneously. That was another thing with Drew. He was like, you can't overwork.
Yeah. Just relax.
Had to get a proper pregnancy band, support band, and just, loads of things like that. Extra vitamin. I had every nausea medication you could imagine. And I still vomited at least once a day.
Oh, wow.
So, I took an acid medication. I was on the progesterone. I would get aches and pains because actually the progesterone softens your bones. Like they actually say you're more prone to osteoporosis with it and stuff. And so then I would get hip pains. So I would have to take Panadol for my hip pain, and I wish I could have done my pregnancy with no medications and as healthy and as happy and as just as wonderful as I could be. But that's just not my story.
Yeah,
it's just not my pregnancy.
You fully missed out on the pregnancy glow.
Yeah,
it
just
that.
Doesn't happen for me, and this is the only way I can safely have a baby. Felt like I was a surrogate. I can only imagine that's what a surrogate feels like when they're pregnant.
A disattachment.
They're pregnant, but and they know there's a baby there, but there's just no attachment.
Emotion, no feeling towards
No feeling at all. Nothing. I wish I could say it got easier, but it didn't. Progesterone makes you crazy. You're debilitated basically for 9 months. This was the decision I made. My relationship was strained for 9 months. Luckily we are strong together, and in times of need we are strongest. I feel for people that don't have that, don't have that support, and don't have, and it destroys their relationship. This want to have a child is such it overcomes you deep within your soul. It's like your body's screaming out, even when you know how much pain it's caused you and how much worry it's caused you and how hard it is on your body. You want it. You just want it so bad. You don't care. You're just like, I need it. I need to be sick every day. It's
funny because like a lot of people will say, oh, it's okay, you've already got a child, you should just be grateful with the child that you already have. But that doesn't get rid of this aching feeling in your body. It doesn't fill that hole.
Absolutely. To do it, like you say, every month you're like, shall I get pregnant? Shall I get pregnant? Shall I get pregnant this month? I'm not pregnant this month. And then your period comes, oh, I'm not pregnant this month. Oh, but next month I'll get pregnant. Like, it's just this constant game. Like, everything revolves around getting pregnant. Even when you're having the best sex in the world and you're thinking, I'm not thinking about this. Afterwards you go, I bet you get pregnant with that because I really enjoyed that and it wasn't like we were trying. So I bet you get pregnant that time.
I used to do that as well.
And you're like, what the hell? Or you tell yourself, well, I don't really want to get pregnant, or I'm not ovulating, so I can't get pregnant. But you're still like, oh, but I'm not going to get up straight away. I'm just going to leave the sperm in here. Even though I know I can't get pregnant and I'm not ovulating, but just on the off chance I'm going to do that. And it's like, what is wrong with you? What is your head? You're a sane person becoming irrational. And it's just...
And so when did you come off the progesterone?
I came off the progesterone on 36 weeks pregnant, which was a Wednesday. And I went into labour with my daughter on the Friday. Even Drew was like, you cannot end it there. I was like, we'll see. And then he didn't turn and he was like, 3 centimetres.
Let's go, get in there.
Drew had said was because I basically crashed when I went into labour. My body kind of went into a shock. and they don't know why that happened. So they didn't want to take any chances that because we're getting this far and the baby was fine, and you know, I hadn't had any shortening of the cervix, and it was kind of everything. I had no bleeding, and I'd had no mucus, and I'd had no pain, like this low pressure kind. They just didn't want to risk it. It was an elective C-section, and I think emotionally for me as well, I don't think I could have went through labour. I think I was kind of like, just get it out, get it out alive, because I don't think I believed I was having a baby until that baby was handed to me. Regardless of feeling it move, regardless of every week I got past, I don't think I just don't think I believed it. I don't, until someone said, here is the baby. I was like, no, it's not going to happen.
Did they give her to you straight away?
Yes, instantaneously.
Into skin straight away?
Yeah, I watched my C-section be performed. Cool. So I didn't want the drape up. I needed something to focus on, because I was I was crying. I was like drowning in my own tears. And I couldn't explain why. It was just such an emotional situation.
Like it's actually happening. I'm actually going to get something this time.
Going everything, you know, the last time I was in a theatre, I was getting my placenta removed from me you know, it was just really full on. And then she was born, and she was tiny. She was 2.2 kilos at 36 weeks. So she had to go to the special care nursery, but she was fine. She was, wonderful, you know, she wasn't on oxygen. They did put a little tube feed in, like a little nasal gastric tube, just because to make sure, to get weight on her. She breastfed straight away. She had to go. They can't regulate their blood sugar at that young sometimes. So Drew does, regardless if it's C-section or not, he does delayed clamping of the placenta. And
that's so different. A lot of obstetricians won't do that.
So even though he does C-sections, he does delayed clamping. So you get to see your baby, but then you have that delay to try and, you know, get as much placenta blood back to the baby. And then we finally got your sister, didn't we?
And what was that like, actually knowing that you're going to get a baby from this? You're going to be able to take something home.
I don't think I truly remember the first 2 weeks of Esther's life.
Just whirlwind.
I had massive anxiety because even though I actually had a baby, I was convinced it was something that was going to happen. Massive health anxiety. So convinced something was going to happen to me. I would just constantly stare at her. Just
make sure you're breathing.
Yeah.
Are you alive?
And especially with her being premature, you know, you then read up on stuff about being premature and they're more likely of this and they're more likely of that, and you know, that's going to happen and this is going to happen. And Dave said to me, you need to stop, you're missing it. Like, you're missing her. You know, you've went through all of this and you're not enjoying her. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Looking back, I don't think I had postnatal depression, but I definitely think I had maybe like a post-traumatic stress.
Definitely.
That I think I should have probably definitely got dealt with.
But I guess at that time you didn't know what that was
I
anyway.
didn't, and she did heal so much inside of me, you know, and I finally had my baby, and we were finally a family, and I finally managed to do it for David Doherty's daughter. So I guess I was concentrating on everything that I did have, and I didn't want to visit what I didn't have. But that came back to bite me in the arse when I got pregnant with him. I'd already done it once. If anything, I should have more hope than what I did with Esther. But I fell pregnant with him, and I instantly knew there was something wrong with my cervix. So because I felt like that, I was convinced at any moment it was just going to end. And then I couldn't believe I put myself through this again. And then I was being sick all the time, and I had a 2-year-old to deal with, and I was like, oh my God, how am I even going to... I've dedicated so much time to this baby. How do I make her understand that I need a bit of time for me now.
Yeah.
And then I felt guilty for that because I was like, she doesn't know any different. She doesn't know that I've made her the most important person in my life. Because I was afraid that something was wrong with my cervix, I had to have more scans. I used to have massive anxiety attacks before the scans. And then it was determined. It was determined that I actually needed some Valium before I would go and have a scan, because I was hyperventilating. I would be like, for someone who's such a calm, rational person, to me, I was just a shell of myself. I couldn't even talk to anyone about it, I suppose. I guess it's hard to talk about because you're almost talking about someone else. Again, all the nausea medications, all the reflux medications, so I still had to do all that. Went for the scans and it did show that my cervix was shorter than what it was for Esther, and that it was shortening. So there's a lot of rest involved. I got sent to a psychologist. Found talking to people like that very, very difficult. Counselling just wasn't for me. I'm lucky. I have a great support system. I have a great partner.
So you made it full term with Abel?
We had planned a C-section for 38 weeks. But I went into spontaneous labour. Again, my waters broke this time. And I kept taking the progesterone. So it was so hard mentally being pregnant with Abel. And both me and Dave had made the decision we weren't going to have any more children. 3 was enough for us. We were blessed. But for the sake of us, for the sake of me, my health, for the sake of our children, we could not do this ever again. So we had made the decision that when he was going to be delivered, that Drew was to remove my tubes completely. So he was born at 36 weeks, 36 weeks and 4 days, and he was 2.6 born, so he didn't actually have to go in the special baby. He went in there for one night. He looked pretty chunky. He was a lot. He was a lot bigger than his sister was. Definitely struggled after the birth, adjusting to having 2 little ones, dealing with everything that I went through. I felt like I'd been robbed of my pregnancies. Like I just felt like I just never got a fair shot. I never got an easy go. Do you know what I mean? And then I felt so guilty for thinking that because I had 3 children. And I thought, some people don't even get to do that. How dare they? Same thing, anxiety, depression. I had to go on antidepressants for a little while just to try and find me again, if that makes sense. I think I was just very lost.
Still trying to recover.
Yeah.
Still from Isla, and then your miscarriages.
Yeah, which I don't even acknowledge because I'm like, nah, it's fine.
And then the fact that you didn't get that wholesome, typical textbook pregnancy that a lot of women do get.
And people do in whatever they need to do within their family, within their body, within their limits, what they can live with to get this through this journey. It's all about what's happening in your bubble. It's not about anyone else at all. Whether people agree with you or don't agree with you, people are going to watch this and they're going to look at me and go, you didn't resuscitate. They do. People think that I lost Isla. It's easier for people to process that I had a stillborn than it is to actually acknowledge you chose not to resuscitate her. Well, that's the truth. That's what we did. But that was what was right for our family. That was what was right for our baby, for our circumstances. I'm not saying it's right for anyone else. Do you know what I mean? Just because I processed the facts I was given in one way doesn't mean that someone else is. Everybody is on their own journey with fertility and pregnancy. There is just no stories alike.
Why is it important to you that you shared your story today?
I think there's so many different paths of pregnancy. You tend to find there's more people who have scary pregnancy stories and infertility stories and struggles and journeys than there is of people who just go, I'm pregnant and I had a baby. So There's always something.
Yes.
And I just feel there's so much pressure, so much pressure to have this perfect story, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah.
Even if you have a textbook pregnancy, there'll be something.
Yeah.
There'll be something that'll be great for, not great for you, but great for someone else.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, there's always going to be, oh, well, you've breastfed or you didn't breastfeed. There's going to be, well, you took vitamins, you didn't take vitamins. There's going to be, you didn't take care of yourself during pregnancy. You did take care of yourself during pregnancy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It literally has nothing to do with anyone else. It is your story. It is your journey. And you do what's best for you and your family.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's how you get through this. There is a happy ending.
Yeah.
There's babies and there's memories and there's joys and there's newfound respect and love for your partners and your family. It's a struggle, but you have to do it for you. You can't do it for anyone else.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And I think that's why I wanted to say, it's okay.
Yeah, you can film me. You can do this interview.
You can hear this mad tale of, I might come across like a cold robot and not shed a tear while I'm telling it, but hey ho.
That's just you, happens. And that's how you deal with everything going on.
Yeah.
So if you are struggling with infertility or pregnancy problems, the biggest thing I think that we both would suggest is to surround yourself with people who are going to positively impact you, who are going to support you. That's the biggest thing. You need a strong foundation and a strong support system. If you don't have that and you don't have access to that, feel free to message me, talk to me. I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you if you need the help. Also, there is a resource, it's called sands.org.au, and they are an Australian-based resource that provide and offer support to anybody suffering from miscarriages, neonatal death, and also pregnancy problems. So thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope that you enjoyed Ruth's story here. Thank you so much for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. But yeah, if you need anything, please feel free to message. Thank you.
Bye.